about, of course. He said, it's the Manchurian Candidate. It's the best book. It's by Richard Condon and George Axel.
Angela Lansbury gave fans one final surprise before her passing. But her off-screen story is where the drama truly begins. She escaped bombs in World War II, saved her kids from dark dangers, and fought through heartbreak to become a Hollywood legend. Even her final role holds clues to her remarkable life. What secrets did she carry? How did she turn struggles into triumphs? You won't want to miss the untold details of Angela's amazing journey. Angela Lansbury was born on October 16, 1925, in London. Her father was a politician who once became Britain's second communist mayor. Her mother was an actress from Ireland, admired for her work on stage. Angela grew up in a comfortable home. Her family first lived in a flat in Poplar, but when she was 5, they moved to a house in Mill Hill. When Angela was 9, her father died of stomach cancer. His death broke her heart. To cope with the pain, she found a unique way to escape. She began pretending to be different characters. Acting gave her a chance to leave her sadness behind and lose herself in imaginary worlds. Soon, she became obsessed with movies. Angela would spend hours at the cinema, dreaming of being on the big screen one day. School no longer interested her. Acting became everything. Angela's life changed again during World War II. In 1940, just before her 15th birthday, her family decided to leave England to escape the growing danger. They boarded a ship to America, leaving just in time. Liverpool, where they had been staying, was bombed the same day they left. Once in the United States, they stayed in Mahopac, New York, at a friend's house. It was a big change, but it also opened new doors for Angela. Her big break came almost by chance. In 1943, Angela's mother hosted a party, and one of the guests was John Van Druten, a writer and filmmaker. He noticed Angela right away and thought she'd be perfect for a role in his film Gaslight. Even though Angela had no acting experience, she got the part. She was only 17, so a social worker had to be on set to make sure child labor laws were followed. Despite her inexperience, Angela impressed everyone. Her performance as Nancy, a clever and flirty maid, stood out. People couldn't believe it was her first movie. Gaslight was a big success, and Angela's career took off. Critics praised her, and she even got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. She was only 17 at the time, one of the youngest nominees in history. But Angela wasn't done yet. Only 2 years later, she got her second Oscar nomination for The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1945. In that movie, she played Sybil Vane, a singer whose heart gets broken. Her performance didn't just get her another nomination, it also won her a Golden Globe. By the time she was 19, Angela was already making history as one of the youngest actors ever to get 2 Oscar nominations so early in their career. Her success got her a big contract with MGM Studios, which paid her $500 a week, an impressive amount back then. But things weren't as perfect as they seemed. Between 1945 and 1952, Angela appeared in 11 movies, but many of her roles felt frustrating. She was often cast as older women or villains, even though she was still young and full of potential. Angela once said she wanted to play fun, charming roles, but kept being given mean or unpleasant characters instead. MGM itself was also struggling financially, which made things worse for its actors. Tired of being stuck in roles she didn't like, Angela made the bold choice to leave the studio in 1952. It was a risky move, but it allowed her to look for roles that truly matched her talent. And later, in the 1960s, she proved how amazing she was with standout performances in movies like The Manchurian Candidate. While all this was happening, Angela had a brief and surprising first marriage. In 1945, at only 19 years old, she married actor Richard Cromwell, who was 35. She had been swept off her feet by his charm and his connections to big Hollywood names like Joan Crawford. But after just 9 months, the marriage ended suddenly. Cromwell left Angela a note saying he couldn't continue, and she later found out the reason: he was gay. Angela had no idea when they got married, and it came as a shock. This was during a time when people didn't talk openly about these things. Even though the truth hurt, Angela handled it with grace and kindness. She and Cromwell stayed friends until his death, and she later said she didn't regret the marriage. Not long after, Angela's life took a happier turn. In 1946, she met Peter Shaw, a British actor and former soldier, in a way that felt like something out of a movie. A mutual friend asked Shaw to drive Angela to a weekend party in Ojai, California. That simple car ride started a love story that grew stronger over the years. In 1949, Angela and Peter got married in London. Unlike her first marriage, this one was built on real love and support. Angela often said their relationship was perfect, calling Peter her everything: her husband, mentor, manager, and partner. Even when life threw challenges at them, like their children's struggles with addiction, they never gave up on each other. In 1987, Angela and Peter took their partnership to the next level by starting a production company called Coramore Productions with their sons Anthony and David. This company produced Angela's most famous TV show, Murder, She Wrote. When Murder, She Wrote started on September 30th, 1984, no one thought it would become such a huge hit. A show about a middle-aged widow solving mysteries sounded risky, but it turned out to be a massive success. Angela Lansbury played Jessica Fletcher, a kind and clever mystery writer who always found herself solving crimes. People instantly loved her. Week after week, millions tuned in to see her solve new cases. At its peak, the show was watched by 40 million people every Sunday night. To understand how big that is, it's like almost 1 in 5 Americans was watching. It didn't just entertain people, it became a cultural icon, with jokes, parodies, and even books based on Jessica's adventures. What made it even more amazing was how the show stayed the same for all 12 seasons, yet people never got bored of it. The show aired for 12 years, from 1984 to 1996, with 264 episodes. Every Sunday night at 8 p.m., families sat down to watch Jessica solve another crime. Even after the show ended, it didn't disappear. It was shown again and again on TV, and new fans kept discovering it. Even now, people all over the world are watching it in reruns. Its popularity led to 4 special TV movies made between 1997 and 2003, so fans could enjoy more time with Jessica Fletcher. Angela Lansbury's performance as Jessica was loved by everyone. She was nominated for an Emmy every single year the show aired, and even for the TV movies afterward. That's a total of 18 nominations, tying the record for the most nominations ever for a leading actress. But strangely, she never won. Fans were upset, and so was Angela. In an interview, she admitted how frustrating it was. "It pissed me off," she said. "Everywhere else in the US, Murder, She Wrote was huge, but not in Hollywood. It was a strange disconnect between how much audiences loved the show and how little recognition it got from award voters." As the show became more successful, Angela started taking more control. She became an executive producer in the later seasons. Back then, it was rare for actors, especially women in their 60s and 70s, to have so much influence on a TV show. But Angela helped shape the stories and direction of the show. This was a big deal and opened doors for other actors to take on producer roles in the future. In the late 1960s, Angela Lansbury's life turned upside down. Her 2 children, Anthony and Deirdre, got caught up in Malibu's dangerous drug scene. Anthony, born in 1952, became addicted to cocaine and heroin, while Deirdre, born in 1953, fell under the influence of Charles Manson's cult. Things got worse in August 1970, when Anthony nearly died from a heroin overdose. Angela was terrified and knew she had to act fast to save her family. Deirdre's involvement with the Manson family was shocking. At just 17, she was using Angela's credit cards to buy food and supplies for Manson's followers. This was a terrifying time in Los Angeles, as the brutal Tate LaBianca murders had happened just the year before. Angela later said that Deirdre had been fascinated by Manson, calling him charismatic. But Angela knew how dangerous he was and feared what could happen if her daughter stayed in that environment. She later admitted she was certain she would have lost one or both of her children if she hadn't removed them from Malibu. Then, as if fate had stepped in, their Malibu home burned down. Angela took this as a sign that it was time for a fresh start. In 1970, she moved her family across the world to County Cork, Ireland. They settled in a quiet old stone house surrounded by green fields, rivers, and gardens. Angela felt that Ireland was the perfect place to escape the dangers of California. It was peaceful, far from bad influences, and gave her children a chance to heal. The move worked. Angela put her career on hold for a year and focused completely on her family. She spent her days learning to cook and taking long walks with her kids. They planted gardens together and found a sense of calm they hadn't had in years. It was a time of healing, and Angela later called it one of the best decisions she ever made. Even as Angela's career skyrocketed, she worked hard to protect her private life. When she became famous for murder, she wrote, she was recognized everywhere. But Angela stayed grounded. She avoided Hollywood's spotlight, living in quiet places like Ireland and Brentwood, California. She often said that keeping her personal life separate from her work helped her stay balanced. In 2003, Angela suffered a heartbreaking loss when her husband, Peter Shaw, died. They had been married for 53 years, and he was her closest partner in life and work. Losing him left Angela devastated. For years, she struggled with depression, feeling lost without him. But eventually, she found strength again. At 80 years old, she returned to acting with Nanny McPhee, a role that helped her heal and regain purpose. After that, she threw herself into her work, shining in Broadway performances and proving that even after great loss, she could still thrive. At 84, she played Madame Armfeldt in A Little Night Music, proving that her talent had no limits. Angela's career on Broadway was full of big moments. She won 4 Tony Awards for Best Actress in a Musical, each for a completely different role. Her first win was in 1966 for Mame. Then, in 1969, she won again for Dear World. In 1974, she played Rose in Gypsy and won her 3rd Tony. Critics loved her performance so much that many said she played the role even better than the original star. Her 4th Tony came in 1979 for Sweeney Todd. These awards, spread across 13 years, showed how Angela kept shining no matter what. Even as she got older, she stayed at the top of her game, earning her last Tony nomination in 2009 for Blithe Spirit. When Angela Lansbury voiced Mrs. Potts in Disney's Beauty and the Beast, she created a character loved by people of all ages. At 65 years old, she brought warmth and kindness to the motherly teapot, making the role unforgettable. But taking the part almost didn't happen. Angela was busy with her TV show Murder, She Wrote, and wasn't sure she had the time. Her children convinced her to say yes, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions of her career. One of her most magical moments was singing the song Beauty and the Beast. She recorded it in just one take, an incredible feat considering what happened earlier that day. Her flight was delayed because of a bomb threat, leaving her tired and stressed. But she went to the studio and delivered a perfect performance. That song went on to win major awards, including an Academy Award, a Golden Globe, and a Grammy, becoming one of Disney's most iconic songs. Angela's journey with Disney had actually started years before. In 1971, she starred in Bedknobs and Broomsticks as Eglantine Price, a witch learning to use magic. She wasn't the first choice for the role. Julie Andrews had been offered it, but said no. Angela made the character her own, blending humor and heart, and even earned a Golden Globe nomination for her work. This film showed she had a special way of connecting with both live-action and animated stories. Her voice acting talents didn't stop there. In 1982, Angela played a very different role as the creepy Mommy Fortuna in The Last Unicorn. Years later, in 1997, she returned to animation as the Dowager Empress Marie in Anastasia. Her role as Anastasia's grandmother was filled with warmth and grace, and she recorded all her lines in just 2 days, showing how talented and professional she was. Playing Mrs. Potts also introduced Angela to a new audience, kids who fell in love with her gentle, caring voice. She became a favorite among families and went on to do more family-friendly films, like Nanny McPhee in 2005. But her influence didn't stop there. Angela also became a favorite among LGBTQ+ fans thanks to her strong, independent roles throughout her career. She appreciated this connection, seeing it as a reflection of the empowering women she often played. Even in her 90s, Angela kept taking on new roles. In 2018, she voiced the mayor of Whoville in The Grinch. Nearly 30 years after Beauty and the Beast, her voice was still as magical as ever. Her final voice role came in 2022 when she made a brief cameo as herself in Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. The film was released just after her passing at age 96, making it a bittersweet goodbye to a career that touched so many lives. Angela Lansbury's voice, charm, and talent will always be remembered. Angela Lansbury's final appearance on screen was in Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. She filmed her short scene in the summer of 2021, over a year before she passed away on October 11, 2022, at 96 years old. In the movie, she appeared in a video call with Daniel Craig's character Benoit Blanc and a few other famous guests. They were all playing the online game Among Us. Even at 95, Lansbury took the time to learn how the game worked just for this role. The movie's director, Rian Johnson, said she was excited to understand the game and put real effort into it. Because of the pandemic, the scene was filmed remotely from her home in Los Angeles. This little moment wasn't just a random cameo. It was a nod to Lansbury's famous role as Jessica Fletcher from Murder, she wrote. Fans loved how it connected her history as a detective on TV to a modern mystery. Her part in the movie lasted just a few minutes, but it stood out. The playful idea of her solving mysteries, even in a game, felt perfect for her final role. Daniel Craig, who played the detective Blanc, spoke fondly of Lansbury after her passing. He called himself lucky to have worked with her. Although they didn't meet in person for filming, Craig got to talk with her briefly before they recorded their scene. He described it as a rare and special moment to connect with someone he admired so much. In the scene, Lansbury's character is sharp and quick in the game, while Blanc hilariously struggles. This little detail felt like a wink to her decades of experience solving mysteries on screen. Her final lines in the movie were simple but powerful. As the game ended, she said, "Case closed, we're done." These words hit differently after her death, almost like she was saying goodbye to her long and legendary career. The fact that these lines came during a mystery scene made them even more meaningful, reminding fans of her unforgettable role in Murder, she wrote. But the scene wasn't all serious. Earlier, she joked with the other characters, even calling Blanc an imposter during the game. This mix of wit and warmth was classic Lansbury and left fans smiling. When the movie came out, critics praised her cameo. Many said it was one of the best moments in the film. It felt like a tribute to her incredible career, while also fitting perfectly into the story. Her humor and charm made the scene stand out, and the emotional weight of seeing her on screen one last time left a big impression. Some reviewers even said her appearance, along with Stephen Sondheim's, who also passed away before the film was released, added an unexpected sense of nostalgia and warmth to the movie.